Hey, what's good, everybody? Who's like God is back with another video, quick video. Today we're going to be talking about the miracle children in the Amazon. Now, if you haven't been under a rock, you've probably heard about this going on, and I wanted to give my 2 cents about it. And the main thing I want to do is just, pray for these little children, pray for these little niños. But we're just going to unpack the facts and why I think that this is very interesting from a religious perspective, the perspective of one who follows Yeshua. Uh, Not to necessarily override that from the events that actually happened, but to look that about the cohesion between these things. So reality was something happened that was very unfortunate, very tragic, but the plane that they were in had crashed in the Amazon jungle, and there were 7 people within them. All the adults had passed away in the crash, but the children, 4 children, had survived. Children are Leslie, Selesny, Tia, and Christian. Now, Leslie is the oldest out of all the children. She really protected the rest of them. But the reality is, you just to comprehend how much the stakes would be against these individuals, such as the wilderness, such as the animals, and even what they have to be worried about is the human element about the gorillas there who are part of this sort of cocaine ring and things like that. I watched the documentary. I recommend y'all to watch it if you want to go a little bit more informed. But the upbringing that they were raised in the jungle and were familiar with it, it equipped them. It equipped them in many ways when they're actually put into this situation. It's possible that this is they were trying to escape some of these things because, like with the whole rebel militia thing, what they would do is go into villages and sort of force the native villagers to become a part of the operation and make the children soldiers in their operation. So there was sort of this real life gimmick where a lot of tribes are nervous in the Amazon. They're fearful of these rebel guerrillas. And what's interesting is that many people were praying. Many people were praying that the force would release these children, that they would be safe. And the father of the children says that they were blessed by God because they're children of the miracle. Now that's interesting, just to put this whole religious aspect of it. The fact that the people involved in the situation were both praying and were saying that they were blessed of God. There's accusations that he is abusive. Now, obviously, I don't know personally. I'm not there. I don't want to put myself in this situation. But they did say the girls were, they didn't want to get back custody with their father. But the reality is, I got my notes here. The reality is, though, the fact that this was so global and so public, they're targets now because it's a great situation for a ransom. So one thing that we should all do, and the main reason that I want this video to be about, is to pray for these kids. Pray for their salvation. Pray for their protection. Pray that, they would have good, fruitful, awesome, joyful, productive lives. Especially now that, since there's all this publicity, they're going to be active targets that are going to want to hold them for ransom and things like that. So let's all just come together, pray for these little niños, you know what I'm saying? Be blessed in the name of the one true living God. And another thing that's really interesting is the fact that they were found after a period of 40 days. Now, this is the kicker because the documentary even alluded to this. In the Old Testament, we know Israel was wandering for 40 years. We know Moses was on the mountain for 40 days. And then Christ himself was in the wilderness for 40 days. I'm going to read that scripture right now that says, Matthew chapter 4, Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. And then it was caused by how the tempter came, the devil. And after resisting the temptations, verse 11, Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and were ministering to him. So that's interesting that Christ himself, the Messiah himself, Yeshua, he was in the wilderness for a period of 40 days. And then sometime after that, salvation came. It's interesting that when they were found, it wasn't 28 days, 36 days or even 39 days. The fact that it's 40 days really does seem like there's a legitimate biblical parallel. Also, the fact that they survived the little baby 1 year old in the harsh conditions of the jungle that most of us in the West are incredibly inexperienced to deal with. The fact that they would survive and be preserved all those times with all those things against them, it's a miracle. No, I'm not saying she didn't have knowledge, or obviously, the experience they had equipped them just for this situation. Sort of like in the book of Esther, you're called for such a time as this. Their experiences help them to survive in the real situation. But the fact that they did what they did, that their lives were preserved, and that it was periods of 40 days until salvation, is the numbers and the dates that we're getting so far. All that is very interesting. But more than anything, I want to pray for these children. You know what I'm saying? The little ones, their lives, they survived. The adults had died, but they survived. 40 days later, salvation came. I just pray that everyone who comes in here, let's just get rid of all the BS for a second and just pray for these children. Pray for their salvation. Pray for them growing up. Pray that God would use them however He sees fit in that way, but just on a human level. Pray for them to grow and become strong and have beautiful, joyous lives under the sun, and to just take advantage of the opportunities that'll probably be given them because of these situations. But also pray for their protection, because reality is a lot of people speculate that there is going to be targets on their heads because of all the popularity. So pray for their safety and all of these things. They would generally know the Lord and generally know the Messiah that He sent, Yeshua HaMashiach. God bless every one of you. I pray that He'll bring all of you into the kingdom of the one true living God. Talking about these things brings me joy. And I'll see you all on the next video. All right, God bless my brothers and sisters.